Hi, I'm Jay, and today I'm going to tell you about the Gardenreet solid brass L-shaped pathway lights. Let's take it out of the box. In the box you get the installation instructions. Here is the light itself, L-shaped, like I said. The ground stake for it, look at that. Serious ground stake. A couple of wire nuts in here. I'm going to be using my own a little bit later on. You do not get a bulb with this unless when you buy it you opt for it, and I did. These lights are sold individually. You need wire to interconnect everything. Yeah, I know there's wire here. We'll talk about it. You're going to need a transformer to drive all of the lights that you want. And of course a bulb. We'll talk more about that in a second as well. And once you have all of that and however many lights you need, you can go ahead and set it up. Let me tell you a little bit more about this first, then we'll go over the finer details, hook it up, and then I'll show you what they can really do. This is available in an antique bronze or a black finish. It has a frosted lens. We'll take a closer look at that in a moment. The pipe here, all metal, 1 inch thick, solid brass. No kidding around here. There's no plastic. This is the real deal right here. For the bulb, it takes a G4 base bulb. We'll talk more about this bulb in a second. This happens to be an LED bulb, but you can also, if you'd like, put a halogen bulb in. They were originally halogen, 2 prongs coming out. It's called a G4 type base. And now, of course, they make LEDs for it, which is right here. And that's what I'm going to be putting in. But you can feel free, certainly, to put a regular halogen bulb in if you prefer the glow of an incandescent like that. Each light, and again, you buy all the lights separately. Each light that you buy will come with all of this minus the bulb unless you opt for it. Cord coming out of each light is 6 foot long, and it goes to bare ends over here, which we're going to connect up. I'll show you all of that in a bit. The entire thing will stand 22 inches high once you have the stake driven into the ground. So from ground level, it'll stand 22 inches high. So pretty much that's all you need to know before we get into the finer details. But one other very important thing, these have a lifetime warranty. With that, let me show you about the bulb, how that all goes in. So I'm going to show you how to install the bulb in here, and I'm going to show you how to attach the ground stake. Then we're going to go ahead and hook it up to the appropriate transformer, and then later on, of course, we're going to show you what they can really do. There's a Phillips screw right over here, so you just take a regular, everyday old Phillips screwdriver. We'll get that in there, and take this screw out. Okay, you don't want to lose that, of course, because that'll be a bad day. We'll take that out. Now it's a cartridge kind of type deal. You grab the end of it and it pulls out like that. Okay? This is the frosted lens. This is plastic. This piece right here. You'll notice there's a hole in it, of course, which matches with that, which matches with that. It's pretty, it really just goes together pretty easy. And there is the socket. So now we have to put a bulb in. So I got these here, and these are LED, like I said. So we'll get that out of the little box here. Now, like I said, you can do LED or you can do halogen bulbs. If you are installing a halogen bulb, they're sensitive to fingerprints on the glass and cause it to burn out sooner. So if you're installing a halogen bulb, either wear a glove or use a paper towel. Do not touch the envelope of it. With an LED bulb like this, it doesn't make a difference. There's the base right there, 2 little pins. So all you do is go here and line that up right here and stick that in. Now unfortunately I'm at the point where I need glasses to see this stuff, but it's right there, it just goes right in. Okay, we have the bulb in there now. Again, it just pushes in like that. So now we're going to put this back. What's nice, right here and at the end of this right here, there's like a little lip on both. So this is going to fit exactly right in place like that. And you'll know it just kind of sits on it. Now obviously the hole has to line up, so we've got to turn it back this way. Get that in there. And now the whole thing as a unit goes and slides back in like that. You got to just jam that home. Just mind the wire in there as you do so. It'll kind of fold in on itself like that. And you got to just push until it goes home like that. And now we simply put the screw back. So with the bulb now installed, we can install the ground stake. And it's very simple to do that. So like I said, big honking ground stake right here. Okay, this is serious. You put that in the ground, it's staying there. It's not going anywhere. You'll notice if I stick my finger through there, there's a channel. You can see right through. And that's so you can get this all the way like that. Now you need to dig a trench or something to put the wire in so you don't see it, or if you have mulch or something you're covering it with, that won't be a problem. So you got to just put the wire down through here and send it out one way or the other. It doesn't make a difference. So I've just undone the twist tie on there. We'll stick it through. Don't worry about the ends on it right now. That's all getting connected up later. And we simply pull the wire through like that. Okay? And then once we get down here, we'll feed that up. And there are screw threads. So now we just line that up and start screwing that on. So let me get that screwed all the way on. And now here is your completed light. Going all the way up to the ground stake. The wire, like I said, will go in a trench like that. And this is going to be in the ground up to there. And this is the piece that's going to be sticking out with your light right in there. Now let's talk about transformers and how to wire it. So here is a Gardenreet 75 watt, one common, one switch. Tap is 12 and 15 volts, 120 volt input. I'm going to go over what the tap and all that means. We got a lot to talk about. There's a lot more involved in wiring up your own landscape lighting than you may have imagined. Here is the transformer. It's big, it's heavy. This is the real stuff, okay? This is not those little solar lights that you've had. This is the real deal. Not included with this is some wiring, but I just wanted to show that to you right over here. This over here is 100 foot of 16-2. That means 2 conductors, 16 gauge wire, like that. The wire gauge, the lower the number, the thicker the wire. Again, the lower the number, the thicker the wire. You may need this to extend because everybody's setup is different. It depends how far apart you're putting the lights and where you're locating them and stuff like that. To wire it in, there are some knockouts on this side over here. You got a big one there. You got these metal ones you can punch out. Just put a screwdriver and a hammer and you can knock them out. You just bend them like that. And you do need to open it up and go inside, and you will find some goodies in there. Included with this is a screwdriver along with some screws. You need to remove these 2 screws. So see the line over here? Short section, long section. The long section is what comes off. Let me get those screws out. With the screws removed, we can take the cover off. You just pry it up like that. And there you go. Set that aside. In here, instructions. All right, we're going to talk about all of that in just a minute. And you see you got all kinds of great looking stuff in there. There's a built-in timer in this particular transformer. Again, the transformer does not come with the set. They don't know how many lights you need. You need to figure that out first. You probably want to oversize the transformer, and the reason you want to do that is in the event you may wish to add more lights in the future. Over here is a loopback plug, as we call it in the computer field, and a switch over here. The switch is a manual switch, on or off. If you put it to on, they run on all the time, day and night. There is available a photo cell if you want them to come on at dusk and go out at dawn. That gets wired in here. You pull out the loopback plug and plug it in there instead. The timer still runs regardless, either which way. The way the timer works, you can turn it. The little arrow over here points to the time of day, and there's little fingers. Look, see how I can move them out like that? So when you do that, those are going to be on-off cycles, and you have a total of 48 of them, so you can have on-off throughout the day whenever you want, just like that. This will keep its time. Of course, you will need to reset that in the event of a power outage or something like that, because it'll mess the time up. There are mounting tabs on the transformer right there, and the bottom one, if you can see it, I'll lift it up, is just a slot. That's because it's supposed to be mounted this way on a wall with the wires coming out the bottom. This is suitable for wet locations, so it can be placed outside. Another thing I'd like to point out, which is not mentioned, you may not wish to time the lights. And again, you have the switch there you can just leave in the on position, but then you still want to be able to control them. Now, of course, you can go the old-fashioned method and plug this in and out whenever you want. They'll turn on, obviously, when it's plugged in, and turn off when you unplug it. You might have a switch in your garage, your shed, or wherever you're powering it from, and you can flip that switch all day long without having to open the cover on this guy and that. So that's up to you. Another thing you can do, they sell separately from other companies a smart plug that is outdoor rated. And you can hook a smart plug up to that, and then that could interface with your Google Home Assistant or your Amazon Echo or some other such smart speaker like that, and that will make it voice controllable. You can turn it on and off simply by asking. You can also ask to set a timer like that, and more advanced setups can actually have it turn on dusk to dawn based on the sunrise and sunset times, so there is no adjusting this timer at all. Again, that's way beyond the scope of what we're doing here. We're just talking about how to connect this light up. But that pretty much is the in and out of the transformer. Let's now talk about how it's wired. In there are 3 terminals, COM, 12 volts, and 15 volts. What's the difference? What do you do? All of that. Okay, well, this comes down to electrical theory. It's all laid out in the booklet here. It explains how you can calculate it. There's equations and all kinds of mathematical things that you have to do to figure that out. And you want to take the time to sit down. It's really not difficult. Pretty much, you're going to add up the wattage of each of the fixtures that you're installing. And then you want to get a transformer that can handle that, plus has additional load capacity. In other words, if you need 75 watts, and this is a 75 watt transformer, not really a good choice. You want to go for something a little above that, so that way you have room to add additional lights, number one, and number two, you don't want to run it at 100% capacity, although it's rated for it and it can do it. You also don't run your car with that needle on the tachometer all the way up to the red line at all times. It's way lower than that under most circumstances. Now again, I showed you in here that there's a 12 and a 15 volt tap. What does that mean? What does that do? Well, like I said, it's a 12 volt system, so you want to run it on 12 volts. But depending how many lights you have and how you're connecting them, you may need to go to a 15 volt the 15 volt tap instead. That's because as the line gets longer, there's going to be voltage drop. So at the end of it, you may not have 12 volts if you hook it up to the 12 volts. You may have to hook it to the 15 to compensate for that. The problem is if you hook it to the 15 and run the bulbs, they pretty much will work without any problem, but their lifespan is going to be shorter. They're going to be brighter, but it's going to be shorter. So pretty much the easiest way to find out, hook it up to the 12 volts, and then in the event it's not enough, you're not going to hurt anything, you can simply move that over to the 15. Done. That pretty much is the best way, without getting into all of the complicated stuff. Now, how you're connecting the lights together, each light has a 6-foot cord. I just have this wire here, and I'm going to just show you how it gets wired into the transformer, and then my lights are going to connect to this like that. There is polarity with this. You can feel bumpy on one side and smooth on the other. Bottom line here is this is low voltage stuff. Try to keep it the same. If you can't, you make a mistake or you can't be bothered, it's not going to hurt anyone because it's low voltage. So try to keep it consistent just for consistency's sake and go from there. First thing I need to do here is split this wire. There's a million different ways to do this and a million different wire tools out there. I have this here, which is just a pair of diagonal cutters, so we can go in there and split the wire like that to get two separate wires like that, which will now connect to the COM and either the 12 or the 15. Simple like that. You need to strip these wires. Again, there's all kinds of strippers. I've had this one for almost 40 years now. They still make it, but you'll have to look. If you see one that kind of looks like this, that's probably the one. And we're going to strip some insulation. How much? If you get too much, you clip it off. It's not really a big deal. There you go, right there. Something about like that. We'll do the same on the other wire. And good practice is to go ahead and twist these wires together, because all the little strands, okay, like that. And now you need to get this into the transformer. Again, there's the knockout plugs here. Again, I'm not doing this on a permanent basis right now. So what I'm going to do is cheat just for this. Don't do this because you're not going to be able to get all of the wires inside, but I should be able to sneak it right in over there, and that'll be enough to get this powered up so you can see what it really looks like later. So in here you saw the terminal block with the black, blue, and orange colored stuff. Using the flat side of the screwdriver right there, you can unscrew the screws closest to this end of it, and then there's a little hole below that where you put the wires in. I need to get that done, and then I can show it to you what it looks like, because otherwise my big hands are going to be in the way. The back panel here actually comes out with 2 more screws, and that will make everything a lot easier. But again, you want to get these knockouts punched out of here and run the wires through it so you can put this back, because otherwise there's not going to be anywhere for them to come out of. For example, we can take this. I've already loosened these screws right here, and now these will fit in. This is going to be on the 12 volt side, and they go in just like that. So push them in there. You don't want any bare wire showing, okay? And then you go ahead and take your screwdriver, and you're going to go ahead and run the screws down until they're tight. And I'll do the same with the other one. And there you go. Nice tight connection and won't come out. And then this panel is going to go back. Again, I'm just going to sneak the wire right through there so I can get this powered up for you for later and put this cover plate back on. Now I want to point out that this would be suitable for one light. So what you're going to do is this. Each light has a 6-foot length cord on it. Okay, if that's enough from the transformer, hint, it's not, then you can go ahead and run them all in through one of the knockouts and connect up to those same terminals I showed you before. You then would need some sort of extension lead, again from that spool of wire that I showed you earlier, and this is a piece from it right there. Okay, so now you would need to connect these wires to the wires from the light. So this way the closest ones, you might be able to wire right in, but as they get farther and farther away, you need to extend the wire. Now you can extend the wire, you just cut off the piece that you need from the spool, and then you connect them. Again, you're going to use your cutters, your strippers, and get the bare wire like I had shown you before, and you twist the wires together. How you do that and the way you do that is really going to be up to you. You need to secure them together. There's a number of ways you can do that. The best way is to use solder and a soldering iron and heat shrink tubing. Okay, if you haven't used this stuff before, you can learn. It's not hard, and it doesn't cost much to get started, but that's the best way because that's going to ensure that these lights are always connected. But there are easier ways. You can buy these things, which are called solder seal connectors, and basically you stick one wire in on one side, one wire on the other side. There's a ring of solder in there, and you heat this with a heat gun. It melts the solder, solders the wires, and heat shrinks it all in one step. I've had mixed results with these. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. Use at your own discretion. Another thing you can do is connect the wires together and just twist them together and put electrical tape on it. But that really is not a great way because in time the wires may corrode or cause a bad connection and you don't have a solid rigidly mounted connection. So that really isn't the best way, but it'll get you up and running for the night. But you got to come back and fix it right. Most common way you're going to find is by using these things. Here in the US these are called wire nuts. In Canada they're called morettes, and in other countries you got your own names for them. You've seen these before, I'm sure. There are other types of wire connectors like that. You put in the wire on each and then you twist that on. You can also put electrical tape around it to make it safer still. And for sealing everything up in that, there's even this stuff called liquid tape, and it's a brush-on type thing. It's real goopy stuff like that, but it dries like a rubber coating on that and will seal the wire up really, really nice. So that's available as well. You pick and choose how you're going to do that. So how you connect the wires up together is completely up to you, but I can tell you this much. The more time you spend doing it the right way, the less time you'll spend later fixing it. Do it right the first time. So this is the bumpy one here. This is the bumpy one here. And now we're going to just take these, and again, just for this test setup, I'm going to twist them together. There's two schools of thought when you use wire nuts like this. Whether you twist the wires or not, it's your choice which one you want to go with. It really doesn't make a difference. Screw that on and get that nice and tight. Okay, and now we're going to do exactly the same thing over here. I'll twist these together as well. Put this wire nut on. And again, there are much better ways to wire this. Again, this is just a temporary setup right here just to show you. So do it right when you do it and actually install it, and it's going to serve you forever. So just quickly to show you, turn it on, and there you go. That's a nice warm LED right in there. Again, you can put halogen if you want. You can get a cool white, that more kind of bluish, whiter white, if you will, that you could put in there instead if you'd like. And also available, you can buy colored bulbs as well. So if you have a set of these, you could do red and green for Christmas, orange and purple for Halloween, red, white, and blue for the 4th of July. You get my drift like that. So there's that, and now let me kind of stand it up to give you an idea what it looks like. So it's just sitting here Top of the frame is here. It goes up about another 6 inches from there, and this is the light output. Let me shut it. And this is just one of them. So this is going to put out plenty of light. I really love what it looks like in terms of how it's kind of got this L-shaped thing going on. It looks very modern, almost industrial, and I really like this look. It's your choice. Gardenreet, by the way, does have a variety of different lights, and you can mix and match whichever ones that you'd like. So with that, I'm going to hook up the rest of these that I have, set them up outside, and I'll meet you outside after dark. Alright, it's dark out now, and as you can see, this little corridor or alleyway, whatever you want to call it, that leads to the backyard is pretty dark. The neighbor's got a solar light up there. It really doesn't do anything. It's just there to show. But it's dark here. So we can go from dark to light. Let's take a closer look. So here are all the lights. I have 6 of them. And they just go down this walkway here. Lights up. Gives you plenty enough light to see to go to the fence. I like how it has this nice cutoff right here where the light is, because that's how it goes like that. Okay, and it runs down. This is a temporary setup. There's the transformer there. Do not do this. You're going to do a nice installation. And here you go. It's all set up nice. And you can definitely see the walkway. And there you go. You can see it all the way down the line. They look really, really nice. Definitely lights this up without any problem and looks great as well. And I love how you have the flexibility to put any kind of lights in there that you want. These are warm white LEDs, but you can get kind of a neutral white. You can also get cool white if that's more your thing. And that might even light it up a little bit brighter, but this gives the kind of old school-esque look. But hey, if you want, you can even put halogen bulbs in there. Anyway, they're really well made. They look great. They certainly light up the pathway. Once again, this was the Gardenreet solid brass L-shaped pathway lights. If you'd like to purchase this item, I'll leave a link in the video description where you can find this item available for sale on the manufacturer's website. Thanks for watching. Make sure you click like, make sure you click subscribe, and take care. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.